What's up guys, Munith here and I'm back for another video. This time around we'll be covering the Smogon Snake Draft Semifinals. First off we've got the Terminus Taipans versus the Ambra Astrodias, better known as the ABRs versus the Mainers. Starting off we have Mana versus Zorodark. Mana is I'd say he's definitely one of the 10 to 15 best players in Sun Moon OU right now. He's a very strong builder who has an extremely high playing ceiling, but as shown at points during SPL, he's not necessarily the most consistent. However, I do believe he has a much higher ceiling than Zorodark, who's just like a generally solid player that sticks to what he likes. And that in conjunction with his team building advantage, especially considering he's got ABR to bounce ideas off of, has me favoring him pretty clearly here. Then we've got Twixtree versus Tama. I think Twixtree's actually quite good. But the issue is that Tama is just one of the best players of all time and has infinitesimally more experience than Twixtree in high pressure situations. Not only that, but he also has gotten a lot more reps this tournament, even if he's like 4 or 5, I think he is. So I'm just gonna have to favor him in this one. Next up is my favorite matchup of the week, ABR versus updated Kanto. I think that Kanto is really good. He has cooled down a bit after his 5-0 start, but in spite of that, I think his really aggressive offensive playstyle gives him the ability to succeed in matchups against basically anyone, and I don't think there's a single person against which he doesn't have a chance to win. ABR is obviously ABR, the number 1 ranked Sun Moon OU player going into this tournament. Amazing team builder, consistently one of the best players around. But I just think Kanto's gonna be able to rekindle some of the fire he had been on earlier in the tournament, and he's going to be able to take down ABR here. For the final OU matchup of this bout, we have Ima versus Sidumaz. These are two players who are pretty much traveling in opposite trajectories right now. Ima is coming off of 3 wins in a row to end the season, albeit with a bit of luck, particularly in that last game against JYT, with the crit on Garchomp. But in spite of that, he's still been playing fairly solid, and I think he's gonna be able to be a struggling Sidumaz, who I think has lost 4 in a row or something after a solid start, and I just don't see it getting any better from here. Ima's solid playing ability combined with the ABR's and Mana's team support, for that matter, is just going to be too much for Sidu to handle, and I just don't see him winning. And then moving on, we have doubles. I'm just going to skip this because I'm not a very experienced doubles player, nor will I claim to be. Moving on, we have Rob JR versus Lycans. I really like both of these guys as players. They both have that offensive play style where they opt to try and take the initiative early rather than playing conservatively, and I think that playstyle lends to being able to take advantages in games, and it's something that as a player I see as very effective. And I think while both these players are solid, in spite of what their records indicate, I just like Rob's I've liked Rob's play more consistently, and he also has much more experience in very like high pressure situations. Like, look at the SPL 9 Wolfpack. He really delivered down the stretch of that tournament. When he really had no business doing it. I think he, like, if you look at his record, he ended up I think Cindy was struggling a bit, and then he went in like week 7 or something and won both of his playoff games against Bush Tush and Pack respectively, who are obviously two really impressive opponents to win against. And that I think that was back when his name was like Pokey TC Gamer or whatever. Whereas like Cans, like he's still good and got some good experience this World Cup playing for Latin America, but I'm just more confident in Rob's playing ability and experience in high pressure UU games. Moving on, we have Alpha Rabbit versus Harris is awesome. Um, both these players are all right. Harris has considerably more experience, given his Grand Slam run last year, in conjunction with playing in SPL, managing one World Cup this year, whereas the this Snake is Rabbit's first team tournament experience, besides like one stray game of Snake last year, um, which I think he beat King Why Not in that, if I remember correctly. Um, which is obviously, last year I think King Why Not won like 7-2 and beat Ajna twice or something. But Rabbit's just like a solid player, who's a great builder and has a good grasp over the metagame. Whereas I think I rate Harris a bit higher as a player, due to his ability to branch out to other tiers like UU, DPP, even at points and such. Whereas Rabbit really only sticks to RU. So I think Harris has more experience as a player, and due to his branching out, I'm always going to favor his ability to play the game. And I think this game is largely going to come down to whether or not Rabbit is able to generate himself a strong matchup and play that to victory. But I still have to favor Harris here due to his more actual tournament game experience as a player. And then moving on, we have Schneider versus Jordan. Um, both these guys have been really good this tournament. I think Schneider is 6-2 and Jordan is 6-3. Because Schneider did sit out week 8 when the Taipans rolled out that meme lineup with ABR and doubles. Um, I really like Schneider's ability to use unorthodox texts, like people saying SJ Sneeze. I think it's SJ Neasel or something. And like and like the utility Comfy, and like his ability to use these unorthodox sets to generate good matchups has allowed him to beat some of the best players in the tournament. He's beaten ICT, he's beaten Jordan himself, he's beaten Finch, he's beaten Gary Oak, and like obviously several others. And I think just that ability to engineer uh techs is going to have me definitely favoring him in this matchup. Um, I also like generally think he's a better player as well. And then moving on, we have Tede versus False. Both these guys are strong players. Tede has kind of had a down year this year. Not doing too well in SPL, and just doing all right here. I reckon with Quagsire departing from the tier, False's prep job is probably quite a bit easier without having to worry about like Quagsire fat stuff. Um, but regardless, I think Tede is the better player, while False has the better grasp on the metagame and like prepping it in this tier in general. So I think if Tede is able to like stick to like a strong team with a good defensive core that like he likes, he'll be able to outplay False and win, so I'm gonna have to favor him here. And then finally we have Jake versus Shrug. Shrug has struggled quite a bit this tournament, whereas Jake has honestly looked like the best Little Cup player. Um, with there being some vibes with his older SPL runs. And then, so I'm definitely going to have to favor Jake here, so I think I predicted this to be like a 6-3 with the doubles excluded. And then moving on, we have the Nagas versus the Leviathans. Starting off, we have Ramboss versus Insult. Insult does have the tendency to use like weird stuff like Azumarill, regular Alakazam, etc. But I think if he sticks to something tried and true, he's gonna be able to cook Ramboss because he's a significantly better player, and obviously has great building support in Suapa and Charm Flash. So I trust in his ability to be able to recognize that this is a very important game and he shouldn't be messing around with really weird stuff. Like, obviously innovation is great, and like that's how we got things like Z-Rotom arising with Charm Flash using it in SPL, Z-Grass Gren with Empo and people using Empo and EO using it in Snake and I think OLT. But it's important to know the difference between innovation and unnecessarily trying to catch the opponent off guard with techs and concepts. And moving on, we got Tricking versus Corazon. Not much needs to be said here. Tricking just won OLT. He's like 8-1 or some shit in this. So I'm definitely going to favor Tricking here. And we've got Kebab versus Tace. I think Tace is probably better than Kebab as a player, but Kebab also, and obviously smashed Kebab last time they fought, but the thing is that Kebab does have the Italian Mafia behind him, and with Will of Fire's Mamba's eliminated from the tournament, I'm sure he's already in their team chat and helping out. And I think considering the building support that Kebab is going to be getting here, he's going to be able to generate a good matchup against Tace and be able to ride that to victory. Because Tace really has a very specific, I guess you could say he's like kinda, his best playstyles are kinda confirmed in a pretty narrow box, and if he strays too far away from that, he does struggle to execute in games, as has been seen in the past. Then moving on, we have Jimmy versus Well. Jimmy is obviously a really great player, especially in old gens like GSC and DPP, but that hasn't necessarily translated over to Sun Moon OU in the context of Snake as much, whereas Well has kind of just piloted everything he's been given really well, whether that be in RU or OU. So I'm going to have to favor Well here. And then skipping doubles again, because obviously I don't know that tier. And we have Adam versus Charm Flash. I think that Adam is really good. As is Charm Flash is a good player, but he's really struggled in UU. I think he's like 0 for 3 or something in it. Whereas Adam is coming off of a slam win and just generally being really good at this tier. So I'm gonna have to favor Adam here, just because he's more accustomed to the tier. He's brought better teams, and he's realized that he can just kind of stick to using what's good here and do fine. Whereas Charm has kind of tried going out of the box, like he usually does in OU, to no avail. I think like he used something like Scarf Neolego as his Altaria answer, and that didn't work out too well. Then moving on, we have Kink versus Roman. Both these guys are really solid. I think Roman has much less experience, and Kink has sports the best RU record in the tournament with being 7-2, which is really good. I think Kink is definitely the better player. And whereas Roman has like more people to bounce ideas off of in RU, and I think he's good enough to be able to win, but you just gotta favor Kink. He's on fire right now in RU, and I don't see him losing to Roman here. Moving on, we have Renchon versus Gary Oak. Renchon has been pretty atrocious this tournament. I think he's like 1-6 or something like that. Gary has not been great either. He's like 2-6 or something. But Gary has more experience. He played World Cup and SPL. He's and like in spite of whatever you want to say about him not necessarily doing great in this tournament, he's got enough experience to be able to beat Renchon here. And then we've got Kitut versus Ziri. Ziri is flaming hot right now. He's won 7 games in a row. Whereas Kitut has really struggled compared to his pre-draft hype. I think that he's 4-5 or something. I know he's like slightly negative. He could be 3-4 actually, because I don't think he played every week. But if I remember correctly, they tried putting like, I can't remember who they put in PU when he wasn't in. But moving on, we have Osh versus Luthier. This game is honestly like a coin flip to me. Like, both are good players. I think Luthier is a higher ceiling, but Osh is much more consistent as a player. Because Osh has more of a long-term thinking approach to how he plays through his games, whereas Luthier really doesn't think more than like a turn or two ahead a lot of the time when he plays. And I think that is very relevant, but Luthier also has the guts to pull the trigger on more difficult plays that can like bring games back when he does make mistakes. So I think I'm gonna slightly favor Osh here, and I think the score is like 5-4 for the Nagas. So I mean, I really think the series is gonna go into a tiebreak because these are two like pretty evenly matched teams, I'd say. And I think the tiebreak is really going to come down to how the Leviathans want to use Charm Flash. Like, obviously, the Nagas are going to pick Yu because Adam is fantastic right now, and the Leviathans are probably going to pick PU provided that Ziri beats Kitut. And then if the Leviathans decide to go for Charm Flash and OU and Welliu and UU with Ziri and PU, I think they'll stand the best chance of beating the Nagas, as Charm Flash is definitely... I think Charm Flash is the only player on the Leviathans with upset potential against tricking. And you really want to minimize the amount of throwaway slots in a tiebreak, and not only that, but I just don't think Charm Flash is up to par in UU to be able to play and win in a tiebreak, whereas I think will be able to be given teams to pilot, and like he is a solid enough game planner and player to be able to just plug and play in any tier. And I think putting him in UU, or even Korra is on, obviously he played UU and beat some good players earlier. Depending on how you're feeling about those two, you pick between them for the UU tiebreak. And I think Ziri is going to trash anyone that comes out unless the Nagas make a nonsense move by putting tricking into PU. And then overall, I think I think if Charm Flash goes into OU, the Leviathans are favored in a tiebreak, because it's like, I'd say like 70-30 for the PU game, and like the Nagas are favored like 55-45 or like 60-40 in both of the others. So it's like there's just a lot more potential for them to get an upset win, because obviously basic math indicates that on paper they have a 36% chance, assuming that it's 60-40. They have a 36% chance to win both, which is indicates odds against them. So overall, I think the Leviathans are a much more well-rounded team, whereas the Nagas have some really incredible top-heavy talent with Tricking and Adam. So the Leviathans really want to end this early and go 6-4 rather than having to tiebreak into tricking plus Adam plus whoever they decide is their best option in PU if it isn't Kitude. And I think personally, I mean, judging from how the Leviathans have utilized Charm Flash so far, I assume they'd put him into UU and he would lose to Adam. So I'm gonna have to say that the Nagas versus the Taipans will be my predicted final. Thank you for watching this video and have a nice day, guys.